Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to talk about a conversation I had with my members from my YouTube channel, but it's about this issue and this video that you're seeing on the screen here, solving bots in Web3 games once and for all. And this is a video from Games on the Block, and it was exceptional. I'm going to link it in the description. Go watch the full video. He has some amazing ideas that I've never heard before about how we actually could resolve the issue within Splinterlands specifically. And it's not what you think. I think it's something new, it's something fresh. I think it actually would bring new joy to the gaming experience for real humans, giving incentive to keep playing and be a human in this space. But then also, it would represent a discouragement or a hurdle for automation. And so I think it's brilliant. I strongly recommend you watch his full video. And if you want to hear if you want to add to that conversation by sticking around and enjoying this video, I would love that too. Paul, botting and wild will be a lot less profitable with these new changes. Yes, this could be a bot farm killer if we still even have those. Yeah, I wonder about that too. And I actually want to talk about bot farms and bots in a moment here with referencing a video from another content creator who specifically asked me to draw attention to his video. So maybe we transition at that moment right there. Okay, I'll read this last one because it actually pertains to gathering. Says they really need to make a PvE mode so match liquidity is never an issue. That would be super helpful, I do think. And they're gonna do something like that. Remember, they said that they're gonna activate a number of accounts and they're gonna use real cards on them. So they're gonna buy cards off the market and then they're gonna put them onto these accounts. And then because the account is a bot run by Splinterlands, it won't receive any rewards, but it will create match liquidity, which is cool. So on this topic of bots and the impact in the game and all of that, I want to feature some comments that I saw, or a video I saw. Let's see here. Games on the Block dropped this video, let's see, yesterday. Only 23 views. And I would say this is deeply important. I'm going to share this with the broader YouTube audience, and I'm not going to, try and steal exactly what he has to say, but I need to summarize some of it because I want to create a compelling argument for why you guys need to go watch this 30-minute video. I think he makes some amazing points around how we can move towards solutions around the bot challenge, because the issue isn't just, it's this complicated issue where, bot discouragement towards bots can often harm real players. And then simultaneously not doing anything can let bots just extract value. And so there is this rock and a hard place. And I think we have some answers or some real strong suggestions that are featured in here. And the video is called Solving Bots in Web3 Games Once and for All. And I thought it was an amazing video. I watched the whole thing this morning before I went live. And I don't necessarily want to steal, the fullness of his idea, but I really want to say that this still image distills a lot of what the problem is. If we look at how games in Web3 are designed, and if we understand how we could incentivize human players and disincentivize bot players, we need to understand that problem solving is always key within any video game. And problem solving boils down to, there's three approaches to problem solving: brute force and AI. Anything that within these two realms, of course, computers can do that. They can calculate a million things a moment in ways that you and me can't. But when we look at heuristics, it's more like these ideas of considerations that are more complicated, nuanced. There's a variety of interpretations. Those are far more, it's possible for us to win in those realms. And when we boil it down in that way, you start to recognize that there's this path to making certain game designs where it's digestible to humans. The complex nature is digestible to human players, and yet challenging for computers to brute force through. And he gives some specific examples. This is another screenshot here. Well, it's not a screenshot, it's just I'm just looking at his YouTube video. We're at 22 minutes and 33 seconds. And you need to go watch this part in particular, because I think this is a brilliant solution, and he has other amazing solutions that I'm not going to cover right now. But I want to spend let's say 5 minutes talking about this and how I think this would impact the game and how I think it might be a real answer to the issue that's at the core of the conversation. Because again, with bots, we come at it and we say they're bad because they take rewards, they add nothing. And I'm not sure I fully go that far, but that's a lot of what the sentiment says. But then we also have to understand, if we feel that strongly about bots being terrible, then we banhammer them. That has ramifications for human players. So how do we nuance that where it dissuades them and encourages us? This is one amazing idea that I think could lead us there. He talks about how if you just look at, the different options that are possible when we add when we add rule sets, the different multitudes of variables, combinations, the multitude of combinations that are possible when you have, let's say, 3 rule sets, it's massive. You might think it's enormous. The combinations across the mana cap and the rule sets that are present and the teams that are playable, etc. It's so complicated. Yes and no, it is, but it's within the realm of calculation for brute force for AI and for computers. And he makes this interesting point that the more rule sets we add, we're actually narrowing down the choices that are possible. That's interesting. I never really thought about it that way, but it's true. I've talked about how rule sets make the game more complicated, and they do on one level. There's one more variable you need to consider before you act. And that is a complicating factor. But every rule set that we add restricts the number of cards that I actually can or should play. If there's Earthquake, I probably should play flying monsters. If there's Noxious Fumes, I probably should look at my immunity monsters, etc. So it ends up restricting some of the monsters that I can or should play. Some get taken off them. And so every rule set actually makes it easier for bots to calculate the best team available. And yet for you and me, it can be this complicating factor where I have to think creatively within this new context of Earthquake plus Noxious Fumes, right? And that changes versus Earthquake and melee for any position, etc. And so he's saying rule sets are great, but they're actually making it, and the way we use rule sets are actually making it easier for bots. And what would be better is if we make it more of a human-based thought experiment with the flexibility, with greater diversity of options that increase the importance of your own creativity and limit the reduction that it would apply to your team selection. Look at this. Look at these 3 examples he drew up. He put a rule set on front row. He put a rule set on 3rd and 4th. He put a rule set on front row, 2nd and 5th. In these 3 different scenarios, imagine this is one battle you're entering into. This is a battle 2, battle 3. In battle 1, you're incentivized to recognize the double strike capacity in row 1 means it has a real implication for who you're going to put there. You're probably going to put something that does significant amount of damage, that has a high rate of speed. Maybe that's quite resilient. Maybe you're going to focus on melee because it's in the first position, but maybe you're going to use like a close range archer, or maybe you're going to use a double striker. If you use like a magic and archer who can fire from the first, then suddenly something like this is pretty juicy. All that this would be a very interesting way to engage the game. And this use of rule set would radically, and I think dramatically, change and breathe new life into the rank experience, in my opinion. And this would play in one way where double strike from the 2nd would play in a totally different way, or from the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th would play in a completely different way. Imagine a double strike in the 5th spot. You could do a sneak play. You could do, there's that new magic and melee sneak monster. I think he's on the blue team from Rebellion. and you could do double strike on that. So it's not just that the rule set changes how you play, it's actually the placement of the rule set that creates this multiplication of complexity that is far more difficult for a computer to think through than it is for us. And he talks about, like, I can't understand the math, but he gets into it and he's like, look, this would radically change the number of possible options once you started implementing it in this way, to the point where the brute force functionality just would no longer work. And that's exciting. So it's exciting because he actually believes that it might make it too difficult for the bots to follow him. But it's also exciting because I like the way that this would play. And imagine taunts over here and resurrects here. This would be really fun to engage with, wouldn't it? There'd be so many different ways to imagine, and every battle would be so different because it's not just a double strike rule set. It's not just a, earthquake rule set. It's this ability attaches to whoever you put there. Wow. Even you could imagine scenarios where it's like last stand is one of these abilities. So somebody's getting last stand. Who am I going to give it to? And you put some beast mode person like in maybe it's like 4th slot. And you put like a fiend, a chicken, and like a 1 mana, just because you're really just filling out you want to get somebody into that 4th spot to access that last stand. And it would just be so creative. So I wonder what you think about this sort of gameplay. That's question number 1. Do you think, like I think, that this would be super engaging? Because I do. And then secondly, do you follow with the idea that this would massively multiply the amount of computations required in order for a bot to follow along? Because if we actually believe that this would make the bot's job harder, give them less success, and make our game more entertaining, this is something we need to uplift. And with 28 subs and 23 views, I mean, this to me actually makes a lot of sense. And he's got more ideas in this same video. But this to me was the one where I was doing something else, half listening, and I just go, no, like, this is awesome. To me, this is awesome. So I want to hear what you guys think. And if you have any questions, I will try to answer them from what I heard in this video, but there might be pieces that I won't be able to speak to. And if that's the case, then I'm just gonna say, make sure you watch that video. I'm gonna share his video on X and stuff like that, and I'm trying to invite him on even because I think that's deeply important. What do you guys think? Eli says games with position-based ability sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I think that would really breathe life into the rank experience, because it's not so complicated that you or I couldn't get it. And yet it would open such a every battle would be, I'm saying, like, that feels like a totally different game. Like it's not like a new rule set. Okay, what's the rule set? Oh, reach. Okay. No, it's like this crazy new variation on the game. And maybe it's not abilities, but I think that could work. But it could just be that rule sets apply to that line. Like you could say, no, I think it would have to be abilities. Yeah. Or you could also say, no, I think that's the best way. Dude, I before I went live, I tried really hard to sort of challenge and break this idea. And I was like, okay, took 5 or 10 minutes. I was like, what's he missing? Or how is he not getting it? Or like, what's the piece that, if I just question it, it would fall apart. And I don't really see anything. I think that would make the game more fun, and I think it would radically change how bots respond to the game. They might ultimately be able to overcome, but clearly that would be a dramatic increase in the computational requirement. And so, yeah, it's worth considering. And I also think it would be fun. So that's cool. So again, it's like, do we want to fight the bots and hurt ourselves? Do you want to cut, that expression, you cut off your nose to spite your face? It's like sometimes you're trying so hard to defeat an enemy that you actually impair yourself in the process, like we do with dissuading bots. We've done different things, measures and countermeasures to try and silence them or stop their involvement or stop their exploitation of our game. But then we've seen the people in silver or bronze have complained that the rewards have changed and lost. And so people often say, you know, we're harming the new player in order to try and stop these bots. And maybe to some extent that's been true, but we're trying really more than, it's not about harming the new player. It's about trying to make a sustainable game. And so it feels like this is a solution that kind of strikes that balance of, it would dissuade or lean on, let's say, human prowess or the power of the human mind, giving us the option and the ability to thrive and have more fun, while challenging the computers in a way that they can't necessarily keep up with. Because the thing about it too is, if Double Strike's here, if like given the what 50 different abilities, the 50 different abilities that exist in each of the various slots within each of the mana caps, it's like the equivalent of tomorrow creating, I can't do the math. I think it's in the trillions. I think that's what he's talking about here. There's like 40 trillion options, because, you know, Double Strike could go in the first row, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and it could be in the context of a 5, because this is a 5 mana rule set, or sorry, a 5 monster rule set. You could have a 6 monster rule set, a 4 monster rule set, and it changes every time. It changes so radically. And here we have 3 abilities. So it's like, you know, the one alone would be cool, but 3 would be altogether nuts. So yeah, I think that'd be fun. Now, you might say this will get too complicated for us, and that could be so. I don't really know if I believe that. And I also think, you know, once you know the abilities, you would, and most of us know the abilities, but there is maybe an argument there. However, I don't really buy that, because we know the abilities. Otherwise, you don't even know how to play your own cards, because if you don't know the ability, you don't know whether you should use the card. And so if you don't, you know, if you don't know Armored Strike, if you don't know Bloodlust, if you don't know Affliction, if you don't know Res, if you don't know Taunt, you don't know Double Strike, then you're probably just like, you're too new in the game already. Like, regardless, it's not about, it's like whether you get it, once you get a few months in, you'll get that, I think. If there's any other thoughts, I'd love to see it. Eli says, I totally agree on all fronts regarding position-based abilities to mix up the game modes. Yeah. I still don't understand why we don't simply require KYC verification so bots are eliminated, limit everyone to say 3 to 5 accounts. Okay, this is a good conversation, and maybe we'll move on after this unless you have some more comments, guys. But I would say go definitely watch his video today. And he talks about KYC. He gives right out the gate the solutions that exist. These are the solutions that exist, and one of them is to KYC. But he responds to each of these solutions. And, you know, the truth is, there's ways around all these things, even KYC. And he makes the point, you know, you can generate an ID, and often KYC is limited to, or it's hampered by your phone number. Usually you need a cell phone. You can get online cell phone numbers for relatively nothing using the internet. And it'll create a text message through your, it's like creating an email essentially. And there is a financial cost to it. So it's a hurdle, but it's not a difficult hurdle for the people who are going to be deeply capable of cheating, who understand technology better than you and me gathering. That's not even a speed bump. It's just a cost of doing business. So if it was $3 a month, he talks about, you know, to do something like that, to maintain a number, or if it was $3 one time in order to, you know what I mean? Whatever the cost is, it's just a cost of doing business. Here's the only question that comes out of that. Does that cost of doing business, the cost of ongoing maintenance of these fake phone numbers using the internet, which is easy and possible, and you know, you or I could do it today, is the cost of that service greater or less than the returns possible within the game? Because if the returns possible within the game are greater than the cost of, you know, mimicking or a cell phone number and thereby circumventing KYC limitations, then people will do that. And maybe not you and me, who are, you know, perhaps law-abiding, well-meaning, You know what I mean? But it's the same thing with, if you look at alcohol consumption in public, drunkenness in public, if you look at gun use, if you look at crime, it's just generally crime. The people who want to do things that are against the law do things that are against the law. They don't stop and say, what are the rules? If they did, then we would have less crime. So the KYC thing, it's like you put a rule out there, and those who respect rules will respect KYC, and those who don't will see it as at best a speed bump and a cost of doing business. If the rewards are greater, they're gonna pay that fee to make a fake phone number and gimmick the KYC. Same with all of these every other possible solution. So the conclusion has to be, at least, and this is his conclusion, and I fully agree. The solution has to be designing a game not that has all these different hurdles that prevent bots from entering, because those hurdles, by the way, are impediments to humans. You say KYC, would be a solution to bots, but it will be a problem for people. Lots of people do not want a KYC, and it's not a small amount of people, especially within the crypto space, especially those who are interested in Web3. Like, if we want to lean into what Web3 could be or should be, we should be aiming at a design mechanism that allows humans to enjoy and thrive while discouraging or making it more complicated for bots to thrive, and in ways that don't simultaneously harm us. CAPTCHAs bother humans. Banning certain IPs is very limited in sort of utility, because you can generate fake IPs. I don't want to steal this entire conversation because he goes one by one through each of these. Go watch the video. But I'm saying, with particular the KYC conversation, I think we need to remember that when we build these hurdles to keep out the bots, we actually have to ask two questions. One, will it stop them? And two, will it stop us? And the truth is, it will not stop them. It will slow them down or be an inconvenience or a cost of doing business to them. But for us, it actually will stop some real players from playing, because they don't want to participate in that. They don't want the man tracking their name or information. We always have to look at, it's one thing to say it might help with the bots, but the answer question really is, will it stop them? Not will it help? And even if it will help or will stop them, what also is the impact on human players? So check out the video. Great video. I'm hoping maybe he and I can chat about it.